Fighting for the dream. And with that quote, warm welcome to another episode of Inspiringly Different or Inspirierend Anders. It's Luca again, and we go back to the US one more time and say a happy welcome to Steve Zambrano. Hi, Steve.
Hey Luca, how you doing? Thank you very much for having me this morning.
I'm doing good, so I will fire back that question to you. How are you doing?
Well, I am fighting for the dream out here in Texas.
Fighting for the dream.
uh,
Which dream are you fighting for?
my life dream, the American dream, the dream of my family, all of the above. You know, the nexus of that kind of response or that quote. It's a funny story. I used to work with a coworker here, great friend of mine. I consider him a mentor and a best friend of mine, and certainly going to be a lifelong um, individual that I think about fondly. No longer works with me, but he was a little bit uptight, but very corporate, if you will, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously had a very stressful job. And one of the things that he would say when someone would ask him, "How are you doing?" And "How's your day going?" is he would say, "Living the dream." And so when we became close friends, probably about half a decade ago now, I always told him, you're not living the dream, you're fighting for it. In my mind, you never fully accomplish the dream. You're always working towards another end goal. You're always continuing your path until that next step. And so he said
That's
it.
quite deep.
Thank you. I appreciate it. He said it in a bit of a begrudgingly way, and I said it in a bit of a sarcastic way back to him. But for me, it's evolved and it's become truly. I am fighting for the dream, and every day someone asks me, "How are you doing?" I remind myself with that one saying, I'm continuing to fight for the dream, and what I'm doing at that particular moment is working towards my end goal of having a better life and becoming the best version of myself that I can.
That is a that is a very very good way to remind yourself, like about your goals, your targets, your visions, your dreams. If you just remind yourself every day with this quote that you just answer like automatically, oh, fighting for the dream. How you doing, Steve? Fighting for the dream.
Yeah.
Still fighting. Always fighting.
Yeah,
Steve, can you tell the people what you just told me, where you are coming from right now?
yes. Right now, I am in my office here at Frisco, Texas, just about 20 minutes north of Dallas, Texas, in the United States. I out of my corporate office here at Forweb Medical, which is the headquarters of Forweb Incorporated. And my background or my occupation here at the company is I'm a patient-specific solutions director. So I oversee the entirety of the patient-specific pipeline, all the way from conceptualization to manufacturing to regulatory and to post-market surveillance, and even assisting surgeons in the OR suite. Right now, where I just came from was a cadaver lab over at a hospital about 2 miles away. We flew in about 4 surgeons late last night, and I was working with the rest of the research and development team to set up some cadavers and other instruments and implants, so that way, right after this meeting, I can go back and do a little bit of validations on the design of our new age products for some spinal devices. So,
So maybe please tell the people, what is 4Web Medical exactly doing? What is your purpose, your company purpose?
yeah. So, 4Web Medical was started back in 2011. We are an orthopedic device company, and we develop devices that have been additively manufactured to treat certain pathologies. Generally, this is bony deficiencies. So, we're most known for our spinal devices. So, we have off-the-shelf products that range all the way from the cervical, so the base of the neck, all the way down to the lumbar, right above the pelvis. But we also have other divisions such as our foot and ankle, which do fusions there. And then the division that I lead, which is patient specifics, and that one is a total body solution. We've done everything from craniomaxillofacial in the skull, all the way down to the distal phalanxes, which are your toes, and created orthopedic devices to address particular pathologies that had no solution at the time, or at least no off-the-shelf solution. So.
Yeah, that is the fascinating thing, right? Because no product, no implant you're producing, you're creating, rather, not producing, but creating, it doesn't look like the other. There's no dual use for them, because your 4Web is, as I understood, specified on these cases, on these patients where there is nothing off the shelf. Or?
Absolutely, and that is the division that I run or lead, where the pathology is sufficiently rare and there's no off-the-shelf solution to do that. So, it's a very fulfilling job. Being able to assist maybe that individual who got involved in a motor vehicle accident and is missing 4 inches from their femur. That individual who developed a tumor in their spinal column and needs to go ahead and have 4 vertebrae removed out. Or maybe even just that younger patient who is 9 years old and there is a particular device on the market to treat that patient's pathology, but because of their age or their size or their skeletal maturity or what have you, the device doesn't work for them. And so in those situations, which are actual situations that I've made implants for, I will come in at the request of a surgeon who has evaluated all the other options and says, there's no sufficient treatment route here, and then work with them to develop a product so that way we can address this particular patient's pathology. So again, it's a very fulfilling job, but as you can imagine, by the time the request is given to myself, the clock has already started. This patient already has a pathology. Many of them are already bedridden, and many of them are a few months or a few weeks away from either an amputation or, in some situations, a death. So
that is so inspiring that you or your company or the company 4Web is doing that, because I think this is one of the main problems we have, that there are so many different issues you can have or your body can develop or you are born with, or show up during your years. And there's so many people who have this very very different issues with their bodies, with their spines, with their bone material, and there's just nothing because to help them, because it's not worth it for the companies most of the time who produce like en masse these many products that help many people. But there are so many people, like a rare disease. There that no medical company will ever, or hopefully it will change, but not a lot medical companies will develop something for a rare disease because it's just not worth the effort.
Absolutely.
So I find it fascinating that you are going into that and say, yeah, but we are making a difference for one person at a time.
Yeah. I mean, for us, it's one patient, one surgery, one-time use. So, and you know, I think you hit it right on the head. Is the reason a lot more companies don't do this is because it's just not cost productive, right? Making a single implant for a single patient, you know, it doesn't work out well for a business strategy, which I understand that.
And a big company.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make sense for a big company.
And quite frankly, there's a lot of risk with doing these type of devices as well. So, and you know, I understand that a lot of larger companies are more worried with you know, keeping the lights on and paying the personnel who they employ. And frankly, if it wasn't for the rest of the products that our company develops here, I may not have the opportunity to bring this service to our clinicians. I'm glad that we are, because to us, this is a societal service. You know, what do you do when an individual, a clinician, says, "Hey, look, I don't know what to do with this patient. They're missing so much bone that the easiest path forward is to amputate one of their limbs." And you feel badly for that, especially. I've had the opportunity in certain situations where the patient has requested it, that they request to join in on a design session, or they request to speak to the engineer who was responsible for the creation of this device. And you hear their stories, and you're able to connect that more to what you do, and it brings it all that much more real. You know, the first time that I was in an OR for a device that I helped develop.
OR means operation room, or?
Operation room, yes, correct. Yeah. And you know, I saw the patient there draped over with surgical matting, and the exposure site. It really didn't look much to like a person to me. However, when the individual was woken up from anesthesia and began to look around the room and reach out to one of the surgeons and said, you know, thank you for the operation, and then afterwards requested to go ahead and speak to me, and just held my hand, and I said, wow, this is real, and this is why I do this, because there's nothing more fulfilling than you know, having a fellow human being reach out to you and say thank you for, you know, at least attempting this. So,
and I mean, it's not just some random thank you for some minor thing you did, like hold the door open for them or buy them a coffee or what. I mean, for them it's super emotional, right?
absolutely.
I mean, they often live in crucial pain for years, maybe decades, running from doctor. I mean, I just imagine running from doctor to doctor, from medical institute to medical institute for years, and nobody can offer you a solution. That's unthinkable in our society. I mean, we are so used to the fact that there is a solution to everything. I mean, come on, we are the brightest civilization ever living on this planet, and there's no solution for my pain in my back or whatever, and then to be relieved of this pain, or even having someone trying, like actually trying something to relieve the pain, is, I mean, that has to be overwhelming from an emotional perspective.
Absolutely.
Also for the families.
Absolutely. I remember one time I didn't have much communication with the patient in this particular case, but at the end of the surgery, after the surgery, it was, to me, what seemed like a relatively simple case. But after the surgery occurred, the surgeon gave me a call, and he said, "Hey, I need your address. I have a couple of things to send you." And not thinking about it, I just sent him my address. I thought he was going to send me maybe some leftover products that he needed to return.
Yeah.
But he sent over a package which was a bit of an envelope, and what it was a thank you note with from the patient who had just a month and a half after their surgery gone out to a vacation with her family. Two young daughters.
Wow.
She was a single mother. Had gone out to a local area beach. Nothing too far, nothing too fancy, but she wrote about a page note on what the operation did for her, and she said, I thank you for everything that you did, your part in this, and because of what you did, that allowed me to pick up my daughters. As a single mother, it allowed me to continue to care for my daughters and make sure that they can grow up. And to me, that's I still have that card. Actually, it's right next to me in my desk, and when I unfortunately get yelled at sometimes for maybe not making a deadline, or maybe not turning things around as quickly as some of our customers may like, or maybe there's an operation which is down because of a production delay, or even as something as simple as a snowstorm in an entirely different state that affects the travel of these implants. When I get in those situations, people become angry, and I just tell myself, like, it's fine that they're angry. I understand their situation. It's definitely a high stress point, but and sometimes I need to go ahead and talk myself back as well and say, their feelings are valid. They are fighting. They are champion for the right thing for the patient's well-being, as am I. But at times it still gets you down, and I lean on my past experiences to propel me forward and keep going. So,
I mean, yeah, I can. That would be like, I can't imagine what they have to live through, and then being told, yeah, there is a snowstorm, everything is delayed, the surgery has to be delayed. I mean, you can get emotion can boil over in such things because you had so high hopes, and then they kind of fade because of something that no one is in control of, maybe, and you have to blow some steam off, and you are on the line, so you
Absolutely.
get all the steam right in your face. But how do you? I mean, Steve, how do you manage to have a life? And what I mean is, with all this information in the back of your head, like, okay, I have to finish X, Y, Z so that Mr. X, Mrs. X can have her surgery on that day. How do you even like relax sometimes? Or are you sitting at home and be like, God damn it, I can't go to soccer, I can't go to football, I can't go to the cinema. I have to work through this. These people are in pain.
Yeah, great question. I mean, for many years, at least initially, that was very much how I went about it. Is I need to go ahead and do this. I need to stay later. I need to make sure that this is done, so that way this patient can have this implant. For many years, and frankly, even till this day, um, the last thought or in my mind is, you know, did I forget something? Um,
Mm.
you know, what am I missing in order to make sure that all the cases that we're balancing, which could be 2 dozen, 3 dozen at a time, in various different states, what am I missing? Because each one of these has a surgery deadline, and if I don't ensure that each step is on track, then there's a potential that this patient who may be flying from out of state to visit this particular surgeon in another state, maybe taking time off from work to go ahead and have this surgery, or potentially even because they don't get surgery in this time frame, may not be able to pay for it because of their insurance coverage. You know, what am I missing? Those are all situations that I think about, and you know, the last thought in my mind before I go to sleep tends to be, what am I missing? And for many years that was a bit of a problem, because it's a very taxing type of process. But you know, I've since learned to go ahead and be better, better as an individual, better as a person, better as a friend, a son, and I find that if I take time for myself, I can be a better custodian of my group as well. If I have the right mindset, if I exercise, if I eat right, if I spend the time with good friends and family, that inspires me to be better at my day to day. And without all of that emotional support, you know, I make more mistakes. And I never want to do that. So I feel that, you know, being healthy, trying to eat, exercise, which I know is the answer to a lot of things, but and is a lot easier said than done. And then relying on your friends and family, you know, to do things. You know, I had a good friend here, or a couple of friends here, who just actually flew back to Germany. Their name was
Nice.
Regina and Philip. And, you know, the other day we were having this conversation about, you know, how do you work through life, and what's the best thought processes. And I say, you know, for a lot of us Americans, or maybe even more narrow Texans, there's a lot of independence thought into us, right?
Yeah.
You know, we're a very proud, independent group. We like to go ahead and put a lot of thought into the individual. And I say, well, that's great. That's a great thought process, but, you know, if you want to go fast, you can be the individual, right? But if you want to go far, think as the group and rely on, you know, your family and friends. You know, family comes in many different forms. I consider those two to be family now, after only knowing them for a relatively short time. But you know, relying on the people around you, and even though you can do something by yourself, asking for help has gotten me through a lot of these years. So,
Did you come up with that on your own, or did someone tell you, or was there some initial event that you said, "Oh my God, I mean, I need to relax. I need to work out. Otherwise, I'm not able to continue doing this for another 10 years."
Yeah. You know, I always try to surround myself with better people. Compared to myself, you know, I look for the friends and family that I think, oh, I aspire to be them. I aspire to have this trait, I look out for those type of people and bring them into my circle, and try to spend additional time with them. And when you do that, I feel like if you spend enough time with them, some of their attributes come off onto you.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you have a friend who likes to work out and they invite you out, you know, at first you're there and you're maybe dying a little bit.
You're dying for sure.
Yeah.
First time you try to go to the gym or try to work out with someone who's used to it, you're for sure feeling your body in the next week.
Yeah. But, you know, after 6 months of you know, accepting their invitation to go out on a run, you're looking at doing a 10K or you know, or a half marathon. The same thing is true when you think about, you know, industry mentors or individuals who are in your career. I look for people who aren't necessarily my age, but maybe a little bit older, who classically wouldn't normally think of me as a friend, but, you know, I squirm my way in and say, "You're gonna like me."
You will.
You will like me. So,
yeah, this whole mentor thing took off some years ago, right? I mean, everybody's telling you need a mentor for if you want to have success. You need to have a mentor. Search for a mentor. Look out for a mentor, or be a mentor.
Absolutely. And you know, for me, I've had multiple mentors throughout my life, and I mean, the number of people that I can say have had an influence, a discernible influence on my life is vast. You know, back when I was doing my undergraduate degree, my bachelor's, you know, I never would have imagined, coming from the background that I did. My family was poor. We were Hispanic. We were, you know, quite frankly, on government assistance at times in my life. And, you know, when I went into my bachelor's degree, I thought, wow, you know, I've made it. You know, I've now started my engineering education. I've made it, and, you know, as I was going through, and I said, oh, you know, after I finish this, I'm going to go straight into work, and I'm going to finally live the dream. And you know, as I continued on through there, I had a great mentor. Her name was Dr. Karen Lozano, um, and um, she said, you know, well, Steve, you need to keep pushing. You're a great inspiration to many other people. I want you to go out to Minnesota, which, if you're aware of the U.S. geography, Texas and Minnesota are on complete opposite ends of the country. And
Minnesota is more the
the
cold weather
yes,
near Chicago or so.
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Somewhere there.
The northern part of the U.S., not far from Canada, and I said, well, hold on, I I don't want to leave my little country of Texas,
My little warm country.
yeah, my little warm country of Texas. And she said, no, you need to change your thoughts. You need to go out and you need to challenge yourself. And I said, the people over there are so much smarter. They're so much better than I. They have so much more experiences. They're more educated. There's no way I could compete with them. And she said, look, just do this for me. Just go ahead and apply and, consider it. And so I applied. I said, hey, I want to go ahead and look at this opportunity. And I was accepted. And frankly, it allowed me to travel out to Minnesota, which at the age of, I would have been, I think I would have been 18 or so, 18, 19. The first time I had ever gotten onto a plane anywhere, I was traveling out to the other side of the country, and for me, growing up, the familial unit was everything. If I was, 20 miles, 30 miles away from my familial unit, that was too far, And,
Panic attack.
Right, exactly. And that's just the culture on how I grew up. And, when I said, I'm going to go ahead and fly out across the country, my family just thought, oh, wow, what are you doing? What's going to happen if, you get in a crash or a medical emergency or something? Who's going to save you out there? And I said, I don't know. and frankly, I got out there, and as I started talking to individuals there, I felt like, wow, I can do this. I started talking to the rest of the interns out in the group, and they were asking the same questions that I was asking. And I said, oh, wow, these people also think think just like I do. They don't have the solutions that I thought they were going to have. I'm not as far behind as I thought I was. And then as the program kept going, I found people who wanted to collaborate with me. And they said, oh, well, you're doing such a great job. We want to start working with you more. And then, towards the end of it, I went up and I did my last presentation, and they said, hey, you were the best of the program. We want to continue working with you. And I thought, wow, there are people from prestigious universities in this program, and the program managers want to continue working with me. That's so, I feel so grateful, and had I not taken that one opportunity to just take me out of my comfort zone, take me out of my my city, my state, and push me on that, then I don't know where I would be.
Certainly not there where you are now.
No,
for sure,
absolutely not. And even in that same program, another individual named Frank Snowden, who has since passed away, challenged me even further. He said, you know, what do you plan to do after you graduate? And I said, oh, well, you know, I want to go work for an oil company. At the time, an oil company was, you know, good money and
something to work for.
Something to work for, and, you know, I thought in my mind, oh, that's what an engineer does, you know? And then he said, well, why don't you consider going for a graduate degree? Why don't you consider going for a doctorate? And I said, at the beginning of this story, I remember telling you that, you know, I was so proud to be going for my bachelor's and thought, you know, I made it. I got accepted into the program. And then, you know, when someone tells you, hey, I think you can go and become a doctor, you're like, what are you talking about? You got the wrong person. Had someone not asked me that question, I never would have gone for it. And it's so interesting to think that I didn't think about that on my own. I didn't think, oh, you know, I can go and I can be this doctorate of engineering. I can go and make these wonderful medical devices. I was so, I want to say young or ignorant, or maybe didn't have the social influences around me to say, hey, you can do this. And all it took was just one individual to say, hey, have you thought about doing this in your life? And I said, no, that never occurred to me.
Of course not, sir.
Yeah.
Why would I?
And frankly, the rest is history. I mean, you know, someone just asking that one question, and for me, you know, I value going out and speaking to, you know, kindergarten to 12th and early university. You know, I go out and do conference presentations to members of peers and whatnot. But although I am passionate about that, my true passion tends to be on the earlier stages, you know, because I think that if just one person who never saw me here's one conversation and here's my story, something might click in their mind. They might say, oh, I saw this one guy who looked like me, or who, you know, came up like me, or grew up in the same area that I grew up, or you know, likes the same things that I liked when I was a kid. And if I can influence them to just say, oh, I've never thought about that, maybe I should think about that path. I mean, that's the fulfilling part in my life. So.
Yeah, for sure. And isn't it amazing how often we can break it down to a few key events in our life, and it doesn't necessarily have to be big events. That's like one sentence that was a key event in your life. Like this one sentence, hey Steve, haven't you thought about making your doctor? You were like, no, but makes sense. And as you say, there are so many examples of people who had this kindergarten talk, who were in kindergarten, and someone was there talking about his dreams, his job, his visions, his whatever, his inspiration. And even if you only catch one kindergartner, or what's it called in? Because I'm always confused.
No, kindergartner. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you catch one kindergartner, then it's one more good person on earth, like one more kid pursuing his dreams from small on. Yeah. Like not wasting years, maybe decades, making some degrees that are not fulfilling their lives, not fulfilling their strengths and weaknesses, but really going for their passion.
Absolutely.
And I think we can all need more of that, Steve. We can all need more of that, for sure.
Absolutely.
Steve, that was. Can you believe it? We are already at 45 minutes or close to 45 minutes.
That was a quick time. Yeah.
That was a quick time. And I know you're a busy man and I don't want to steal too much time from you, but I would be so happy if we can meet again in a few weeks, in a few months, if you'd like, and just record another one of these things.
Absolutely. I think there's so much more to be said, and so much more about that I can learn from you, and hopefully maybe one thing that you may be able to learn from me. But I've really enjoyed talking with you, Luca, and really valued this opportunity that you've given me here. And I just want to say, for anyone who's out there and who's listening, is you just keep trying. Never give up on what your dream is, and if you ever feel lonely or lost, don't be afraid to go ahead and reach out to the people around you. You'll be surprised by the level of compassion that a stranger can have, or a friend can have if you just speak to them. And so, for all of us out there, I hope that we keep in mind that I don't know what the answer to life is, but I know that my life goal is to be the best version of myself that I can be. And I think that if more people in the world were to follow that same mantra, then the world may be a little bit of a better place. And I think that's all we can hope for, is try to be the best version of who we are, and be compassionate to those around us, because you truly don't know what they're going through in that particular day. So.
Yeah, and you're such a good role model in this, because what I always have in my mind is this one quote, and I'm not sure who said it, but it isn't that easy to change for everybody a little bit of the world, but it is much easier to change for a few people their whole world. And I mean, that is exactly what you are doing. You're changing for a few people, or you're trying and you are doing it, changing for a few people their whole life, to be able to hold their children again, to go out to the beach again, to stand upright, and to don't live in pain for the rest of their lives with your work, and also motivate and inspire people with going out of your comfort zone. And I think it's not about that. It doesn't have to be not everybody has to be an Elon Musk.
Right. Absolutely.
Not everybody has to be. Not everybody can be. And most of us can't be. And I think for us, it's our main challenge is to just try to change the world for a few people and make it a little bit brighter. And if everybody is doing that, we would be amazed in what kind of world we are going to live in a few years, in a decade from now on. I would say, Steve, we skip the questions and bring it at the end. We will pass them through at the end via text. And I'm very happy that you took your time for that. I'm super happy that our friend introduced us to each other, and I'm really looking forward to doing this again. And you can now, if you'd like, you can share some websites or some Instagram account where the people can reach you, or where people can find you, or for web medical, if you'd like, but you don't have to.
Absolutely. I'll send over some of that information over WhatsApp. Okay.
Perfect, Steve.
All right.
All right then, guys. thank you so much for listening again. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Steve and myself. And keep in mind, challenge yourself and always keep fighting for the dream.
Thank you, Luca.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.